Hi, this is Primary Cinema. It's been a while since my last video, but I'm back. And in actual fact, I never really went away. In the time since my last upload, I started a Substack, where you can subscribe to get my non-video essays delivered straight to your inbox. So far, I've written on topics as diverse as how Roxanne changed Steve Martin's career for the better, and the hidden meaning behind a Talking Heads needle drop in Hot Tub Time Machine. I have big plans for the newsletter in 2023, so if you haven't already, please subscribe. Now, I haven't just been writing in my absence. I've also, naturally enough, been consuming a lot of movies. One I really enjoyed lately was Glass Onion, the latest in director Rian Johnson's series of Benoit Blanc mysteries. I think it's an expertly crafted satire with the bones of an excellent pulp detective tale. I had a great time watching the film in a packed-out theatre with an enthusiastic audience during its limited cinematic release, but I've also found enjoyment in rewatching and rewinding the film now that it's on Netflix, so I can unearth its many Easter eggs and layers of meaning. Some of my favourites of these include Miles mispronouncing author Gillian Flynn's name.
It's fine, it doesn't matter. It just... I hired Gillian Flynn to write the whole thing.
Oh, she's quite good.
She's goddamn expensive. Is what she is.
And Janelle Monáe's posture mirroring that of the Mona Lisa in the film's final shot. But as I rewatched the film, something unfolded itself right before my eyes. I felt the rush Benoit must experience when presented with a great case. Having spent some time out of the video essay game in my figurative bathtub, I too felt the urge to solve a mystery. It had been right there in front of me during all my viewings. There's just something about this golden spiral. First of all, context. The golden spiral, sometimes called the Fibonacci spiral, is a pattern divined from the golden ratio, a number that has intrigued mathematicians across the millennia, equating roughly to 1.618. The golden ratio is an irrational number, which is the result of the following formula. Imagine a line split into two segments. Now divide the length of the longer segment by the length of the shorter segment, and then divide the length of the whole line by the length of the longer segment. If these numbers are the same, they are equal to the golden ratio. With this number, you can create the golden spiral, a logarithmic spiral that grows by the golden ratio each quarter turn. This is what adorns Miles' bronze frame in the Glass Onion. It is sometimes called the Fibonacci spiral because the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio are inherently linked. The Fibonacci sequence is made by adding the two previous numbers in the sequence to create the next number. The further you go along in this sequence, the closer the ratio between the numbers approaches the golden ratio. If the name Fibonacci is sounding familiar, it may be because of this.
Genius.
That first one's a Fibonacci sequence.
We'll get back to how all this relates to Glass Onion in just a second. What I want you to know now is that the golden ratio has many followers and evangelists. People who claim the number and spiral appear in all sorts of unexpected places. Not just in the Fibonacci sequence, but in the human body, ancient architecture, Renaissance masterpieces, and even our own DNA. To some, the golden ratio exists at the intersection of mathematics and aesthetics, one strange number that unites the natural world and human creation. It is argued that art that incorporates the ratio is more pleasing to the human eye, or simply put, more beautiful. Now, as sort of an aside, I think that in a world where AI art bots are attempting to encroach on creative industries, the suggestion that beauty can be explained in mathematical terms is an incredibly exciting prospect for some and a terrifying one for others. And I feel that Miles Braun probably belongs to the former camp. He is, after all, a proponent of automation with an interest in NFTs and machine learning. It's my belief, therefore, given the evidence presented in the film, that Miles Braun is a big fan of the golden ratio and sees it as a crucial cornerstone to understanding visual art. Not just because of the Fibonacci puzzle or the frame design, which, by the way, none of the objects in the frame have any relation to at all, but also because of the artwork he collects. His Rothko painting, which is hung upside down, is said to conform to the ratio too, and his object of fascination, the Mona Lisa, is one of the most studied paintings in the world, and there exists countless examples of critics, theorists, and academics superimposing the golden spiral atop the Mona Lisa to justify nearly all aspects of its composition, from the placement of her hands to the arrangement of her facial features. I also think Miles is attracted to the golden ratio because, just like him, the ratio is mostly bullshit. Most of the claims made about the ratio's ubiquity in nature are just false. Human bodies are far too diverse to comply to such a formula. The DNA claim has been thoroughly debunked, and most of the time people claim to see the golden spiral in nature, they're just seeing a spiral, but not that exact spiral. Even the Nautilus shell, the de facto mascot of the golden ratio, has been found to not actually grow in accordance with the formula. Instead, it's just a boring, run-of-the-mill logarithmic spiral. Similarly, claims about the ratio's prevalence in art are mostly unfounded. One example is the claim that the Greek pantheon was built with the golden ratio in mind. But historians argue the pantheon's designers would have had no knowledge of the theory, and no real proven link between the building's design and the ratio has ever been found. And Da Vinci may have had some peers who were believers in the ratio, but there's no evidence to suggest it informed his own work. Any correlation between the golden spiral and his paintings may well just be happenstance. It could maybe be argued that he and other artists followed the ratio subconsciously, but I'll leave you to decide how valid you find that sort of reasoning to be. I don't intend for this video to entirely debunk or cancel the golden ratio. There are indeed limited examples of it truly appearing in nature, such as in the arrangement of plant leaves, sunflower seeds, and the formation of pine cones. There just is not nearly as many as the myth built around the ratio would have you believe. Despite all this, there are still certain sections of the art world who glorify and fetishize the ratio in an attempt to intellectualize or apply cold hard logic to beautiful pieces of art, and I think Miles fell hook, line, and sinker for their reasoning. After deciding the Fibonacci spiral was a theme of the film, I felt it only made sense to use it to dissect and analyze Glass Onion, just as has been done to the works of Da Vinci and others. So I took my cue from the orientation of the spiral as it appears in the film, and watched the whole movie again with the spiral laid over the frame. And dear viewers, the results shocked me. Or at least interested me. I found multiple examples of the film's cinematography and blocking mirroring the spiral pattern. In fact, it kind of became hard not to see it after a while. Of course, this may well be intentional on behalf of the filmmakers. The golden spiral is integral to the text, and referencing it in cinematography wouldn't be outlandish at all. Funnily enough, Glass Onion probably has a more reasonable claim to golden spiral analysis than the Mona Lisa. But what I'm seeing here might just be down to the spiral's similarity to other, more widely used photo and video guidelines like the rule of thirds grid, or even the Phi grid, which again uses the golden ratio to divide up the screen. But even when pausing the film and examining its blocking and the characters' relative positions to each other, you can find compelling coincidences. It could just be that the spiral is generic enough and minimal enough to allow us to project our own feelings over it. We see patterns or coincidences because we want to. It's how our brains are built. Regardless, I see what I see. And I do honestly think my experience watching the film in this way has deepened my appreciation for the work of director Rian Johnson and cinematographer Stephen Yedlin. What most interested me during my rewatch was the portion of the screen where the spiral begins and is at its tightest. I figured some real important or impactful images may appear there, as for one, it's supposedly the section of the spiral that most draws the eye, and two, in the film, it's this area of the spiral that contains Andy's crucial red envelope which ultimately brings down Miles' empire. So I watched with a particular focus on that section, and again, dear viewer, and this time I actually kinda mean it, I was astonished by this shot in particular, arguably the most important shot in the whole film. It's where Miles switches his and Duke's drinks. The crucial switcheroo, which happens right before the audience's eyes, all takes place within this segment of the screen. Is this possibly some commentary on the ratio's ineffectiveness to draw the viewer's eye? And curiously, other shots in the film depicting poisoning broadly follow this format, though not as precisely. The last shot to focus on the eye of the spiral occurs when Helen dives to overwrite the Mona Lisa's security system and set it ablaze along with Miles' reputation. The overwrite lever is placed in the foreground, right at the heart of the golden spiral, as she destroys one of the paintings most associated with it. Now, maybe this is intentional, or maybe it's just a happy accident. Either way, the golden spiral admittedly helped me notice the similarity in these crucial shots, which, personally, deepens my appreciation of the film. So after all my criticism of the golden spiral, I genuinely think I got something out of viewing the film in this way. Maybe just by overlaying the grid I was more consciously taking note of and appreciating the film's cinematography and blocking. I'd maybe go so far as to say that no matter through what lens you look at a piece of art, the fact you are spending time with the piece and examining it carefully is itself a benefit. So while the golden ratio is, in my opinion, vastly overhyped and overpraised, I do think it has a place in art criticism. It is one tool among many, and when used judiciously, it can unearth some good analysis. Just don't go full Miles Braun with it. Never go full Miles Braun. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe, and remember to check out my Substack too. The link can be found in the description below. Bye for now.